Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Entrepreneur Hour. Today, I'm your host, Miguel Sanchez, just in case I forgot or you forgot. And today I'm going to talk about the artificial intelligence, the AIs, the automations I use to digitally market my content creation, right? Because I think one of the major problems with content creations is people believe you create the video or create the podcast and just people just arrive, and they just get there to your content. And that could not be further from the truth. You need to put in some serious work to promote your stuff, or nobody's going to know it exists. So for me, I've come up with many little AI tips and tricks that I'm going to start showing you to make sure that as many people as possible can see my content. So in today's show, you're going to learn how to take one piece of content and put it many different places. The same. So like today, this hour-long Entrepreneur Hour, globally televised and podcasted Entrepreneur Hour, will go right now. Right now, while I do it, it is in Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook friends for my friends, Facebook fan page. That's 6. I think that's it. Facebook, Twitter, no, 2 Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Instagram. 6 places, right? Right now, live 6 places. But then what happens is it finishes and it becomes a video that's not live anymore. It's a video on demand, so people can watch it whenever, wherever they want to watch it. So it stays on all those platforms. So you can count it as one piece of content, or you can count it as 2, however you want to look at it. Let's just count it as 1. But it's right now in 6 different places. So that's 6 pieces of content, right? In an hour. I created 6 pieces of content in 1 hour. Off that same hour-long content, what I can end up doing is using some automations, some AIs, I can create at least 4 more pieces of content per platform. That could be a ton of content. Then I could also automate posting it to multiple different social media platforms that it didn't go on at first. So I'm gonna walk you through that, how that works, right? So how it starts off is the first automation is StreamYard. Again, I speak about it, and it's a link in the description. You can for $10 off. You can use my description, my link in my description. What StreamYard does is automatically post it to multiple content platforms: Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube. It'll even do LinkedIn, but you have to get a special permission to do LinkedIn. I don't have that permission yet, right? So right there, you have a bunch of content. But then the first thing I do is I use a program called Buffer. So I'm about to show you my screen, and you will see how Buffer works. And of course, for the people listening or watching on YouTube, on Instagram, I will do my color commentary for you. So buffer.com, buffer.com. What it does is you put your content into, you get to pick platforms, right? For free, I think it allows you 3 platforms. Right now, I use it for Twitter, for Facebook fan page, and for LinkedIn, right? So what it does is, the reason it's an AI is, quick background on AI, just to make sure if you don't fully understand what that means. The reason this is an AI is because what AI is AI is a software that takes in data that is very hard for a human to keep in its mind. What data Buffer takes? Buffer knows the best times to post on every platform. So you see on Twitter, see how it says 3:26 p.m., 4:30, 7:16, 8:25, 10 p.m. Buffer has data on what times are best to post on Twitter. So what it does is it makes it so you don't, like, if I wanted to post something on Twitter right now and I press post, this might not be the ideal time of the day to post on Twitter. So what Buffer does is Buffer will take it and post it at that ideal time. So what you can do is you can load up on posts. You can keep adding to Buffer, and Buffer will keep posting it as whatever best time is for that platform. So right now I use Twitter, I use Facebook, and you can see the difference between the posting. On also, what you can do is you can talk about you can set the volume of posts you want to post, right? So on Twitter's more of a like volume platform. So I post up to 10 times a day on Twitter. On Facebook is a little different. So Facebook, they say you should be posting at least 5 times a day. You see how the times are very different. On Twitter, 9:30, 11, 12:03, 1:08. Those are the ideal times. On Facebook, the ideal time is 11:26 a.m., 1:13 p.m., 2:24. So they have all the data. The AIs are collecting data and saying what times should you be posting, and they do all that for you. And then when you press the buffer button, which I will show you, I'm gonna pick one of my videos. So I'm gonna go to my channel, and I'm gonna pick this video that I'm doing right now because it's live, right? You see how it's live on YouTube, but I'm gonna go and I'm going to press the buffer Chrome plugin. And what buffer will do is you select the 3 locations that you want to post to, and I just press add to queue. And what it does is you see how now in buffer it says the next time, which is 7:12 p.m. today on my Facebook fan page, is going to post this video. On Twitter, it's going to post it at 3:26. So it'll post it while I'm still on live. Even though I'm live on Twitter right now, it's still going to post it on Twitter for me while I'm live. So that's why I call it an AI automation, because automatically I set it, and even while I'm doing something else, it will do what I need it to do, but it takes data from all these entities and it does what's in my best interest for me without me having to do it. Right? So that's why it's an AI that I use. LinkedIn, which is one of the most popular, powerful social media networks for networking and actually making money, it has a lot less time. So you see how it has about 5, but you see the times are very different on LinkedIn as well. So this is going to go up at 5:30 today. I'm going to be long gone. I'm probably be driving, but it'll happen while I'm driving, right? An automation based on data I didn't have, right? So buffer is one of the main ones I use. Another one I use is called If This Then That. So it's ifttt.com. Right? So what If This Then That does is it's an automation, an AI again, that says if this happens, do this. So one of the automations I have is Spotify, right? So my podcast goes up every day at 6 a.m. If you're listening to it on Apple Podcasts, please give me 5 stars. So it goes up at 6 a.m., right? So I do my own posting on like my Instagram stories, which you could do that straight out of Spotify. But what I do is I set up an automation that when I add my podcast to a specific playlist, it'll automatically post that podcast to LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, wherever I want it to go. So If This Then That gives you, I think 5 free automations. But there's a bunch, so I have a bunch. So whenever I put up a YouTube video, I don't have to hit buffer. It automatically does it. But what you have to understand in this content creation game is nobody's watching all your content. And what you really have to understand about the algorithms on all these platforms is they've changed the algorithms. So when you post something, your entire fans or followers don't see it. So you may think I'm posting too much if I post 3, 4, 5 times a day, but that's not the case. These platforms are not showing it to the people. So over time, you have to post more if you want people to see it, right? So that's why I'll post like today, for instance, right? This show is going live on all these platforms. I'm going to promote it on Instagram, wherever. I'm going to post it everywhere. But then like a week from now, I'll put it in buffer again. So it'll go out to all those platforms again because people probably didn't see it. Most people probably didn't see it. So they'll maybe get it again in that second time. Then what I do this little trick where since I put out a podcast every day and I'm putting out a video every day, on that video, I say, listen to today's podcast. Here's the link. But what I do later is because let's say a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks down the line, I take that video and I make it a podcast, on that podcast, I'll say, watch this podcast. If you want to watch the video of this podcast, click this link. And I link them to the YouTube, and vice versa. On the YouTube, I say, listen to this episode by clicking here. When they click here, it takes them to the podcast. So I'm like feeding everything together, because at the end of the day, what happens, right? Hey, how are you, Ari? So what ends up happening is I get a lot of run rate from that one piece of content through all the different automations that I'm using, right? So if you think about when you use if this then that, so I'll show you. Actually, I'm going to show you my my Spotify one. So my Spotify, see, it says if new track is added to MSW podcast playlist, which is my podcast playlist, then add to LinkedIn buffer of Miguel Sanchez. So I just did it, and let's check on LinkedIn if it's there. It should be. I did it like right before the show, right? So if you go into LinkedIn and you see recent, I think this is it. I'm not sure. But let me see if it's in LinkedIn actually. Is my buffer? Yeah, here it is. See it? Create app. So this was me adding it to my playlist. So then it put it in my buffer. So now this one will post at 7:17 p.m., which I probably won't even be online, but stuff is going to be posting for me at the ideal time based on all the data of social media. So that's where these two automations are super powerful. And just by using these two, it looks like I'm doing way more work than I'm actually doing, right? It looks like, damn, y'all post all the time, but I don't. I just fill buffer and it posts all day for me. Like I can, in 1 hour, I can find enough articles to post for multiple days. Plus me creating the content, it looks like I'm posting more. But I also know most people don't see most of my posts because of the algorithms. The algorithms will never show you all my posts in a row. They'll show you them over time, maybe, if you're engaging in my content. If you like something of mine, then maybe like later on that night, they'll show you another thing. That's how these algorithms work, because people were gaming them by just keep posting. And then if you saw everything everybody post, there was an easy way to game that system. Just post obnoxiously until people see, right? But the way the algorithms made it work is now it's not about just how much you post. It's we're going to show it to some people. If people engage, we'll show them more stuff from you. So that's where you need to post more often than you probably think, because most people don't see your content. Even these people with millions of followers, a lot of people don't see what they post unless you are really engaged with that profile and you're clicking it a lot and you're looking at it. These platforms are not going to show you everything somebody posts. So that's where you're gonna create your like, again, from yesterday's episode, your 1,000 true fans, right? So the 1,000 people that are really into what you're doing, they'll see a lot of your posts, but they're happy to. So if they're seeing 3 things a day, they're not upset. It aligns with what they want. So it's not bad. But there's going to be people that follow you that may not be as interested. So what these algorithms do is they don't bombard those people with content that they most likely don't care about. So these two automations are huge in once the content is created, right? But there's a couple more automations that I use every day that I want to show you. And I'm wondering if they will slow down my computer. I doubt it. Pretty new computer, but okay. So here's an automation that I use called Descript. I speak about it a lot. I don't know how much of it I've actually shown you though. So what Descript does is it will take your video file and it transcribes the whole thing for you. And then all you have to do is select sentences and delete them, and it will edit that video for you. So I'm going to take you through a scenario that I do every day to post a podcast. Here's what I do. Watch this. So I upload the video into the system, right? So you can, if you on your YouTube, or if you use StreamYard, you can download the file that you just recorded. So every day I do the Entrepreneur Hour, I can download that file, drop it into Descript, and it does this. It transcribes the whole thing, right? But I'm going to start from scratch. So let's say I have, here's the content library. Here is the file I uploaded. So now I just created a composition based on that file. So if you see, I know you can't see if you're on Instagram, but you can jump over to the YouTube later. You can see video and the text of me talking. So, and I'm gonna play it. When you play it, oh, can you hear? Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Entrepreneur Hour. My name is Miguel Sanchez. I'm your host. So you see how it times the words to my lips, right? Then what I can do is, let's say I don't want to have welcome back to the Entrepreneur Hour, right? I just select it and I delete it. And now watch. Hello, everyone. My name is Miguel Sanchez. I'm your host. So you saw it was a big jump though. What happens is when you do this, you can have jump cuts, which is fine in this day and age. I know when I was working on high level stuff for like Super Bowl commercials and stuff like that, you need really good editing. With this, when it's informational, you don't need to make a beautiful storytelling edit. It just needs to work audio. Like you need to be able to listen and understand, especially when it's podcast. So what I end up doing is, Descript has these two features that are really awesome. One is called word gaps. So it looks throughout your whole audio and video file, and it says when there's a break of audio more than 3 seconds, we're going to shorten it to 1 second. That's an AI automation. It's taking your content, your audio and your video, and it's analyzing it and telling you this has extra amount of time. So watch when all right, so right now I came up with 4 occasions where that happens. You see that happen instantly. So now all I have to do is apply all, and it deletes all those gaps. So if you saw in the very beginning, there was a big gap. Oh, I guess it's still there. I had to take it off. But when you go deeper in, you see there's no more big gaps. So that's one thing. So longer than 3 seconds, you can make it longer than 2 seconds, 1 second, whatever you want. The second awesome automation that this does, and this I use for every podcast. So I'm going to give you my breakdown. First, I shoot it and I leave it live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, right? Instagram. But then I take the audio file from here. I upload the video into Descript and I remove the audio. I remove the video and I'll show you how. But I also remove the gaps, because while I'm talking live, sometimes I'm thinking and I create a long gap. And what it does secondly is it removes what's called filler words. So filler words are like when I say or if I'm thinking about something and I repeat a few words when I'm like that, those are filler words. So it goes and automatically through AI reads all my content and finds the filler words and instantly removes them. Watch this. I just removed 350 versions of filler words that I had in that piece of content instantly. So how fast that was? You know how much work that would be if I was to go in and edit all that out? That would take hours. It took me a second because of AI and automation, right? So now all I have to do is export this as audio only, and I have a podcast that's different than my video. It has a lot less ums and ahs and space, but it's a much easier listen than the video, because in the video, if I'm waiting for a second and I'm looking around, at least it has some visual appeal. But if I'm waiting a second or 2 seconds and there's no visual and you're just listening, it kind of will throw you off. So basically, this is my workflow. I'm telling you from start to finish. Again, I'm going to create a course around this, but I'm giving it to you for free on this channel, right? On all these channels. What you do is you start out, you create the content, the raw form live. That's what I'm doing. I like the live format because it gives me interaction with anybody who has a question. If you have a question right now, ask it, because I'm here for that reason live. If you have a question about anything I'm saying, I know I'm saying a lot of stuff and fast, but if you have any questions, just let me know. And there's only been 20 minutes. I know I got 40 more minutes with you. So what I do is I start out live. That gives me the interaction. That gives me some feedback on what I'm talking about is interesting to the audience. Of course, over time, the audience will grow. Right now, the audience live is not huge, but it's significant enough where it has brought me value, right? People are talking to me about what they want. So I go live. Like my boy Nathan says, I'm freestyling in front of you. I'm basically figuring, it's like a comedian when they're working out their material. I'm basically figuring out what you want, what works, but I'm doing it live on all these platforms. And that takes a certain level of confidence in doing this. It took me a while to feel confident enough to do this, but I'm glad I'm here now, and I'm going to get better over time. And I highly suggest you start doing it because it takes time for you to get comfortable. So I go live, create the Entrepreneur Hour, the globally televised and podcasted Entrepreneur Hour on a subject. Here's another automation I use. Before I even press hit record on StreamYard, I go here. I'm going to show you my screen again. I go and I use these actually three different automations. One is called keyword. So let's say today's show was content creation, what I was going to talk about. So I have this called Trends Data. So Trends Data is the thing I think is called keyword. What is it called? I forgot the name of the plugin. I'll find it, but it's called keyword something. And what it does is it tells me over the last 7 days, 30 days, 3 months, how often this keyword is being used. So I know, okay, people are going to search for this. They are searching for it, or they're going to search for it more in a week, or last few months have been going up and down, but maybe they'll search it again soon. So I know, okay, this is a good word to use. Then I go into YouTube, and I got two other plugins. One is called TubeBuddy and one is called vidIQ. So I'm going to show you what TubeBuddy does, right? So same way I went into a different search. I was in Google when I searched, right? So the beauty of YouTube is that Google owns it. So when you search something on on Google, you could get stuff from YouTube, right? So you want to make sure the sentences you are creating are searchable so people can find. Again, what do you need to know that? You need data that probably most humans don't have, but they exist. So I use AIs that grab that data and tell me this is a good use of a keyword because we've collected all this data and we're going to tell you this is good or bad to use. So here, but also it's good to try different AIs, different data sets, because different people have different algorithms for what they believe is good and bad, right? So that's one of the problems with AI is you don't know what makes the sausage, right? So you don't know what algorithms they're using to say it's good or bad. You just have to kind of trust them or not. But the way you mitigate that is by trying different AIs that have different algorithms. They probably have a similar data set, but they have different algorithms. So TubeBuddy versus vidIQ, they have different algorithms. And the other keyword something, I forgot, they're using data just from Google. They don't care about YouTube. vidIQ and TubeBuddy are YouTube focused. So I take all three, and there's even other ones that you can use too. You can go pretty crazy with this and make sure every title you put up is ideal for search. And if it is, you just have that much more of a chance of going viral or at least growing those views over time. Because if you look and you see this term is searched a lot and it has a low competition, you could really step into a lot of views by creating content around that, right? So I saw some words that you'll see in my title today, and I'm going to show you. So content creation, when you go into TubeBuddy, content creation, TubeBuddy goes, searches data, but look at what it says. It says this is a poor score, 12 over 100. Search volume is excellent. Competition is poor. It's basically saying that it says, although this keyword is searched very often, it's bad to target because it's extremely competitive, meaning a lot of people create content for it. So this is their algorithm, right? They're literally showing you, okay, competition, optimized strength, fair, Number of videos in search result, 45 million, right? Number of monthly searches estimate, 192,000, right? So I'm talking about content creation. Even though it says poor, I say, let me look at vidIQ then. So on vidIQ, you go to content creation, type it in. vidIQ has something right here, and you can see actually even with the keyword app that actually, let me find the name of it. I'm gonna find it right now. It's called Keywords Everywhere. That's the name of the plugin. It's a Chrome extension, Keywords Everywhere. So you go to Keywords Everywhere says there's bumps in when people search this on October 4th, 12th, and 17th. So I'm like, all right, it's the 20 something. Maybe another bump will come around. So I think it's worth talking about. Then you go into vidIQ. vidIQ says it's a 70 score. It says there's very low competition and mid to high level volume. When you see a 70 score in vidIQ, that means, to me, it's a good keyword to use. So if you look, you could also see the content. This person has 155,000 views, 187,000 views, 6,000 views, 40,000 views. The view counts are pretty high. So I'm like, all right, maybe one day I'll get to those views. So, and then I also use the word called digital marketing. So the only reason I added digital marketing into this title was because I saw it had a 69. So my title right now is how to use AI and automation for digital marketing for content creation, to promote content creation or something like that. I forgot the exact title. So I got something that's a 70 and a 69 in the same title. So I'm going to get the search from both those and possibly get more views over time. It might take a year, 2 years, 5 years, but I'm in the game by having those titles those keywords in my title, in my description, and in my keywords, because, there's tags. My tags. So these are all automations, right? Like I would never know all this data. I would never have access to it if I didn't use this vidIQ. It's basically an AI that takes in data and gives me data science in a way, right? They're showing me that this is a 69. They've created their own formula, and in their formula of analytics, data, and algorithms, this has a high likelihood of, if I use this keyword, people are going to find me in search when they search it, right? Because that means it is being searched a lot and there's low competition. TubeBuddy said different though, right? So that's why you want to look at multiple, and who knows the difference of the algorithm, right? So I've been kind of siding with vidIQ for a little bit. I definitely use both TubeBuddy and a vidIQ. vidIQ is a little bit more expensive, but I just like it visually. I like TubeBuddy too. That's why I keep them both. But I jump back and forth. So these are all AI automations that I'm using, because the old way to do this was to literally go into Google, put in each keyword, find out what the search amount is, see on Google Ad Planner, Keyword Planner. That's a lot of work. What these guys are doing is they're taking all that in and just showing you. So I could just type stuff in and it's going to tell me, right? So the title is huge. It's huge for YouTube. The second most important thing is the thumbnail, because you could come up and search all you want, but if that thumbnail is not appealing or just doesn't connect some way to the person, they're not going to click it. So you have to do, that's the one difference about YouTube versus everywhere else. You need to make a good thumbnail on YouTube. But also what happens with that thumbnail is when people share it, they share that image comes up of your thumbnail. So you want to do that. And the beauty of YouTube versus everywhere else is, again, that connection to to Google. That is forever possible views. Google's not going anywhere. YouTube is not going anywhere, right? You can't search Google and an Instagram post come up, a Facebook post come up, a YouTube post will come up though, right? So you want to make sure, that's why I said yesterday in my show, you want to start on YouTube, because it's better to learn on YouTube, because if you get it right on YouTube, you're good. You're good almost selling anything you could possibly want, and you might make some money on ads. Everywhere else Sure, they're more popular right now, but I don't know if they'll have the longevity of YouTube. YouTube is like TV in a way now. It's searchable TV. These other social media platforms are not that. So to me, I started YouTube, but I'm still like right now I'm on live on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter. Those are very formidable platforms as well. That's why I post everywhere. But I post everywhere through an automation, StreamYard, right? Which costs money. If you don't want to, and you don't want to pay anything, nothing, I would just tell you go download vidIQ, TubeBuddy. They all have free versions. They have paid versions, free versions. Use my affiliate link because if you sign up, they'll hit me up. They'll give me some bonus, either money or percentage off the product, something like that. So you want to start on YouTube because YouTube is so connected to Google that it's just more beneficial to you long term, right? So let's say I'm going back to I start the process. I create this video. Before I create it though, before I go live, I go here and I search these terms. I search all of these terms to make sure what I'm creating is being searched. And it's around the genre, the niche, the content type that I want to create. Because if I was talking about sports, I really wouldn't be making content creation a keyword, right? I would be looking at trends of right now, what's happening in sports. I would look on Twitter. I would look on what people are talking about. I would watch ESPN, see what the main stories are, and I would create content around those main stories. But you can do the same thing. You could see, like, all right, let's say I know football was yesterday. Let me see Tom Brady, who I hate. Let's see what his number is. So Tom Brady is a 76, right? So if you were talking about sports, you might want to do a video on Tom Brady today because he has a high volume and a low competition, right? So let's say I'm doing a podcast around sports. I'll be like, why is Tom Brady still an MVP? Or if I want it to be controversial, I would say why Tom Brady is not the MVP this year, right? So you can see how that title, it brings me possible clicks. But now what thumbnail would I put? I would maybe make a thumbnail of Tom Brady in the Tampa Bay uniform and Tom Brady in the Patriots uniform and like maybe a crack down the middle. And you could do all that in Canva pretty easily. It's not an AI, not an automation, but it's pretty easy to use. You don't need to use Photoshop and stuff like that. So that's how you use these automations, right? So let's say I'm going to take you down your path of this whole Tom Brady thing. So now I made let's say I didn't do an hour long. Maybe I did 20-minute rant on why Tom Brady sucks. I hate his guts, right? Then what I would do is I would take that video, drop it into Descript. And here's another thing you could do with Descript that's pretty sick. So you can go and you see how it says file export. You can create what's called, what are they called? Yeah, here they go. So you can see how it creates this like text version of what you were saying with audio. And then you can even put an image behind it. So you can choose a background image. So let's say I wanted to, and then you can put a badge. So now this is a piece of content you can use to promote. So basically you can cut out everything you don't like, just take a few sentences of something you think is interesting, export that, upload it to YouTube. I mean, not to, well, I guess you could do it to YouTube too. Upload it to Instagram, Facebook, whatever. And now it's a piece of content promoting your podcast and your video, right? So I've been doing this too, but I do it a lot more extensive because I know After Effects and stuff. So I have fun with those. I need to do them more often though. But this is another piece of content that's automated. Literally, all I did was press export, and I could press export right now and it will export this whole thing like this. That's pretty powerful for the price. I'm telling you right now, to do this from scratch, just this right here would take hours. So each thing I'm showing you, hours being saved to pay $30. You know, so if you look at your time, at least this is how I think about it. Even though this content is not making me millions of dollars yet, but it's helping me bring business. It's helping me bring business in. It's helping me get more partnerships. So it's valuable to me. I see it as marketing and advertising for my company and myself. Let's say my hourly rate, to make the math easy, is $100 an hour. And this saves me 3 hours. Save me $300 to pay 30. Let's say my hourly rate was $50 an hour. 3 hours, $150. Cost 30 for the whole month. So if it's saving me 3 hours a day, insane amount of savings, right? Of your time. Of course, depending on where you are in life, especially now, it might be difficult to pay $30. But there's a free plan, and I'm telling you, it's probably the most game-changing thing I've seen. Between StreamYard and Descript, those two things can make you a ridiculously prolific content creator. It's crazy. Like I've done this for other people. I've done it for myself. These two apps right now make it like rocket fuel for you. So these are just, again, automations that I'm just showing you that I use every day and I think are very, very powerful. Of course, again, I invite any questions from anyone that is trying to learn this stuff. So yeah, so basically, oh man, I didn't even show you that stuff on Descript on the video. But basically what I tell you is, when you're thinking about creating content, you can't think that you created once. You create one video and you post it to that one platform and you sit there and wait for it to go viral. That's not how this works. These platforms all look at is the engagement, right? So let's say I post this today and I get one like. Please like it wherever you see this, but by the way. And I get one like. They're probably not going to show it to more people in my audience. But let's say I get more likes. But then also they see a lot of traffic is coming to this from other places. So they're saying something is going on with this video. The algorithms start to look at it and say, okay, something's up with this. So now they say, okay, we're going to show it to people. And if the engagement rate starts growing, they show it to more and more and more and more people. So the more you link back to your own stuff, the more possibility you give yourself for the algorithms to notice you, right? So you can't just put this on one platform and that's it. Like, I'm to the point right now where I post it on YouTube live. I post it on all these places live. And then I do the automation of buffer, post it everywhere again in different platforms, right? It goes to LinkedIn, Twitter, wherever. Then I'll go in and I'll share the Facebook one on Twitter. I'll share the Twitter one on Facebook. I'll share the podcast on Instagram. I'll share a clip with audio and text on LinkedIn. And I link back to the Facebook, the Twitter, right? I do all of that. And over time, again, because people respect the consistency over anything else, people are watching, people are engaging, and they're clicking those links, right? But it takes time. You can't just post one thing a month and expect to get results, in one platform. That's not going to do well. You have to basically bombard as much as you possibly can because, like I said before, the algorithms are not going to show it to everybody. So the more stuff you post, the more likely people are going to see your post. So you have to think, okay, when I'm creating content, how can I create as much content off that one piece of content? So that's one of the reasons I go for an hour, because I know in this hour I have some nuggets I can take out, use 8 months down the line. I'll be able to take a sentence out of here, do what I just showed you in the script, which I'll show you again because I don't think you got to see it on the video. But I go here, file export, I go to publish, and right here, they have different looks of different styles where it takes my text and it makes a post based on what it's going to have my audio and my text and like this little animation of the volume. And that's another piece of content, right? So if you think about it, let me watch this. I go live 5 days a week, right? 5 days a week on the 6 platforms I go live on, right? Which are YouTube, Facebook friends, Facebook fans. So that's 3. Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, 6, right? So that's 6 pieces of content. Let's say I create that audio thing. It's called audiogram. And I do the same. I take that file and I put it there again. That's 12 pieces of content off the same hour. Let's say I do like Joe Rogan does, Vlad TV does. And I take that hour long and I chop it into 4 15-minute. Right? Like now you can see every day I'm creating a lot of pieces of content off the first one. I did the math, and by doing just that, you're talking about like, let's say 5 days a week, right? 6 pieces of content, and I think I was up to like 8, 9. Let's say 10. Let's say I get to 10 because I said, all right, let's do it. Let's do the math. The video long form, full stream, the video audiogram, the 4 cuts, so that's 6. The highlight with the audio and the text, right? So I mean the audio, the text, and the video, which is something I know how to do because I know After Effects, but most people maybe can't. But let's say that's 7. Let's just keep it at 7, which is more. Let's just say 7 times 5, right? 7 times 5 days a week. Wait, times 6 pieces of 6 places. So that's 42 pieces of content a day times 5. That's 200 pieces of content a week of the same 5 hours of content. And using something like Descript makes it super easy. All I have to do to create all that is literally pick the sentences I like and delete everything else and export. I don't need to be an expert at Premiere and Final Cut and After Effects. Most of that can be done right in Descript. But of course, you need the content first. So that's where StreamYard comes in, where once I create it, it automatically goes to those 6 places, right? Well, 5 and 6, I use my phone for Instagram. And of course, I'm going to create a diagram so you see how this really works. But 6 pieces of content, right? If you think about 6 live, and then I take those same 6 and I cut them off. I cut them up into 4-piece interviews separate, right? That's already 5 pieces of content right there. Then I take the audiogram, that's 6 pieces of content. Then let's just leave it there. Then the podcast, right? Take the same thing and I'll make it a podcast. That's 7 pieces of content. I don't know. Maybe let's just say 8. 8 times 6 pieces, 5 days a week. That's 40 pieces. That's pretty low level. You can go even crazier. I did the math. At one point, I was like, whoa, if I really wanted to, I could create 4,000 pieces of content a month. Of course, I'm not going to do that yet. So I learned a little bit more AI content generation automations. All right. So question here. That's so controversial. Does streaming on multiple platforms tally views separately per platform, or is it cumulative? Good question. It's separate. So you may go on my Facebook and see something has 50 views and think, oh, Miguel just got 50 views. No, but that's just on Facebook. So, and then on Instagram, you may look and see, oh, Miguel only got 50 views. That's 50 views there, 50 views there. Then you go on YouTube, you look and you say, oh, you only got 50 views. No, that's 50 views there, 50 views there. So it adds up. And some platforms you're going to do better than others. Another thing I missed is TikTok. You can take sentences out of Descript and easily export a TikTok, right? So now you're talking about like, that's why I was telling you, I got to the point where I did the math and I was like, holy crap, I can make 4,000 pieces of content off going live 1 hour a day, 20 days a month, right? That's pretty insane that you can do that nowadays with all these automations, and I'm mapping it all out, and it'll be part of my course when I finally do it. And I'll show it to you guys for free too, because again, my plan is if you're willing to listen, you'll learn all this stuff. You're willing to like watch all the content and engage with me for hours and come chill with me and be on the live. I'll teach you anything. I'll teach it all to you for free. But if you want something more condensed and just get to the point where I can, in a place where you can see it and maybe even coaching, all that, there's going to be a platform really soon that will allow you to do that. But you're going to pay me for that. So that's where I'm heading with this. But at the end of the day, your question is a good one, because what happens is people are thinking, if I don't have a 1,000 views on one platform or whatever, it's not worth doing. But when you add it all up, you're getting a lot of views. But I don't know of a place yet, I'm looking for it, where you could take all the views and add them up and say, okay, I am really getting, actually, I do know. there's this platform called Dash This, where it creates dashboards. So it'll pull in your content and your numbers from different platforms and show you kind of like a data science infographic chart kind of thing to show you what your social media is looking like. I don't think it'll go post by post though. I doubt it'll be like, oh, on this specific piece of content, you got 20,000 views. I don't think it'll do that. I don't know. So I don't know of anything that does that yet, but maybe it's something to build. But at the end of the day, the truth is, to be in this and be sure you're being seen, you have to be on as many platforms as possible. And you have to re-promote that same content over and over. So, okay, I'm going to take it even further. I'm going to start showing you how you get to 4,000 a month. Go over the hour. Take the hour, break it up into 4 pieces. Take that same hour, make it a podcast, right? So right there, again, I'm not going to count, but that's a lot, right? Then you take that same content, make a few audiograms, which I showed you, takes seconds, right? Then you take that same content, you make a blog post where you put the video, you put the podcast, and you take the transcribed words and you bring them in and you just write around them, right? You take the key points of what you were talking about, which are already written out by the AI, and you use them in your blog post. Then that's a blog post on your own personal company website. You take that same copy embed of the podcast and video, and you put it on Medium. You put it on LinkedIn, right? And now that same hour, I just told you almost 10 pieces of content you can create off that same hour, right? So can you imagine that same hour? Now, wait a minute, not even done. It's all those places, but now I share it again on all those platforms, right? I share it on Twitter again. I share it on LinkedIn again. I share it on Facebook again. I share it on Twitter again, right? All of these things, you have like endless amount of content. And that's part of why I tell people, if you can figure out how to go live for an hour a day, you can create a ton of content. If you just do 1 hour a week, same thing, right? You don't got to start out crazy like me and go every day. With me, I just know I'm getting better faster, and I like that. To me, I come from sports. I know you practice every day, you get the best you could be. If you practice once a week, those people practicing 5 days a week are going to kill you when the game comes. So I like the practice every day thing. I've been in many different teams, and practicing every day is how we got better. And I took that along with me, right? And I've taken that along with me in this tech thing. I used to do a tutorial every day. Same way I used to have to go play baseball every day, play basketball every day. It's the same idea. You want to get better at something, you got to do it every day, right? So that's part of where, and I know my mind is different on that, but I would try to force myself to do it, because even if you don't get there, you'll be doing it a little bit more than you would if you stood on that like lower end tier of creation, right? If you push yourself and you do one more instead of 2, that's still double, right? It's still double the impact possibly. So I like to push anybody I'm working with behind the scenes. You know who you are. Every day, do it every day, like me. That's what I'm doing every day, to show you where I think about these. Now on the YouTube, but on the script that will be cut out, so don't worry about it. On the podcast, you won't see that. Just you guys on Instagram and YouTube got to see that little technical difficulty. But when I think about how much this is going to get more and more and more easy, and how much every day more people are going to come into this game and have competition. So let's say I'm probably one of the only minorities that talk about what I talk about on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter. So I have a chance to really grow faster because I'm one of the only. But then let's say more start coming in. That's gonna really start to make it harder for either of us to grow, right? But the sooner you get in, the less likely that is to happen, right? Because the sooner you're in, the bigger your lead could become, right? So with me, I'm not really doing this for a lead. I definitely want to make sure my brand is as big as possible, and I'm teaching as many people as possible. But I'm definitely doing this for business purposes. Don't get it twisted. I don't just want to make this content so people know who I am. I want every one of my companies to grow in value because of this content, right? But if you look, I just spent this whole hour. I haven't even told you about one of my companies, right? Because over time, you spend enough time with me, you'll learn about them. But that's not why I'm creating this content. So when you're creating your content, you have to make sure that you're giving value to the people watching. Right now, I'm teaching you for free how I do all this crazy stuff with AI and automation for free, right? But you keep coming back, you keep learning more. And when I have the course or the membership site, or I drop an app of a company that we're launching, which again, we're right there, you may be more likely to download it versus you not knowing at all, right? Like if I didn't create this content, you wouldn't know about any of this at all, right? So let's say I only did one thing. Let's say my one thing, I don't know, I can't even think. Georgie Cuts, that's my barber. Let's say I cut hair, and I created content every day around cutting hair, right? I went on live. Maybe I'm talking to you while I'm giving a haircut, showing you my skills. Now you thinking about me, you're seeing my skills. You're like, you know what? I need a haircut. I'm gonna go get a haircut. That's what's possible now. And I just gave you a good idea, Georgie. I want a free haircut for that. So this is what I'm saying. Like, this is the time we live in, right? You're gonna have to think outside of the box to draw people into whatever business you're creating. And this content thing is the best thing ever for it. But I just feel like a lot of people don't know where to start and don't know what I just showed you. I just showed you how to easily, with 2 apps, there's some more in there, let's say 5 apps, really just the 2 though, you could produce a ridiculous amount of content, put it everywhere, draw more people into whatever it is you're doing. That really has not been possible. Trust me, I've been watching for a long time. This stuff is getting better and better and better and cheaper, faster. The big thing is still most people are scared to do it. Most people are still scared to try it because they fear what other people think. And I tell you, it took me a long time too. I felt the same way. Like, you know, people are going to talk crap. They're going to laugh, whatever. I was watching something yesterday. AOC, my friend AOC, you know, the great Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She was saying, I got to the point where I don't care. I say things sometimes by mistake, like I'll miss a word or I'll switch words, and people are like, well, you said, and she's like, yeah, so what? I messed up. I meant to say this and I said it this way. So what? And she's one of the biggest people on the planet. If you are still scared of that, and even it happens to the best of the best, what are you really scared of? You know what I'm saying? It really is, from the perspective of most people that I see that are afraid to do this, they worry about their employer. That's one of the biggest ones I hear. Yeah, but my company may not. That's bull. Most companies are not going to bother you about this unless you're talking bad about the company. If you're doing your side hustle or something that you like, that is outside of, but even can be part of your education or whatever, your education background or your jobs background, you can still do it. I don't think there's laws that say you can't talk about anything live, especially, and this is what I say, man, right now, it's going to be a crazy time. I just heard crazy stories today about how, like, they're about to change the law where people who haven't paid rent are going to have some trouble. It's going to be a bad time. Like, you got to try things that are going to bring other revenue streams. And like I said, man, the podcast thing makes money already. Day one, you started, it makes money. I'm not saying you're going to be a millionaire day one, but it makes money. The first day you put up a podcast, one person watches, you made money. That has never been possible. Never, ever, ever. I never seen it. Not even YouTube. I don't even think in the beginning of YouTube that was possible. That's possible with podcasts right now. It's not going to be forever. Remember, I said it. This is October 2020. It's not going to be forever. Take advantage of the podcast game, anchor.fm. Sign up. Just start talking about things you think are valuable to other people or entertaining to other people. They will start to tell you what they want to buy from you. I'm telling you, everybody says it. I never believed it till I did it myself. And now that I'm doing it, I'm never stopping. Unless I get like a horrible disease or I get killed randomly, this is what I'm going to be doing because I see it as the best path towards helping anything I could want to do. And it's the same with you. It's just you need to understand there's tools like this that exist that make your life much easier, because I know the first thing people are going to say, I don't have time for that. I just showed you, of course, I spend an hour shooting this, sure. But after this is done, I can literally, in another, let's say, hour, have like 8 pieces of content that go out right after if I wanted to. But I space it out. I change it around so everything is not the same everywhere. That's another thing. I want people to go to the different spots. And if I put up the same exact thing I just did on the podcast today, you're not going to listen to that again. But maybe in a month or 2 months, maybe I bring this up again on the podcast and you didn't listen to the whole thing because you were busy and you listened to it again. So that's how I think about it. I'm not going to put everything out at the same time everywhere. I'm going to space it out, put different things, different places, different times. And this allows you to do all that, right? So hopefully I helped whoever's watching. If you have any questions still, always you can put it in the comments. But I think this is a huge opportunity. I'm really trying to keep creating content around this because I have been convincing people. I've convinced at least 10 people over the last 2 weeks to start. And I see them starting. They're sending me their videos. They're sending me their podcasts. And I'm like, that's awesome. You're getting it in. You're diving in. And that's where you got to start. Everybody sucks in the beginning. Everybody doesn't know what to talk about in the beginning. Everybody is bad at it in the beginning. Everybody. Even like I said, AOC, I remember, literally swear to God, she was sitting right here when she told me she was going to run. I was sitting over there and she was telling me, I don't know, because I told her straight up, I said, you need to say what you just told me. You need to say it on Instagram because what you're saying is crazy. I don't even understand how anybody could not want the things you're telling me. And she's like, yeah, but people don't know. And I'm like, well, you need to let them know. Only you can let them know. Say it on Instagram. She's like, yeah, but that's not really my thing like that. Look at her now. Look at her now. She's like one of the top people in the world. You can't turn on the TV without hearing her, seeing her. And that was a conversation I literally swear to everybody, swear to my kids, my parents. Right here, she was right. She was right here. I was right there. And I had an influencer right here that saw it all happen. So I've been on this for a while. I didn't take my own advice though. And now I am. But for you, start. Second best time to plant trees is today. Start. I want to see. And when you start, send it to me. I don't care what it is. If you're just talking about sports, talking about how Tom Brady sucks, if you're talking about whatever it is, I want to see it and I want to motivate you to do it more. And then eventually maybe show you how I can make some money. But definitely if you put it in podcast form, you can make money day one. So that's how I'll end it. And you know how we always end the show, innovate every day by creating content. Thank you. Bye.